Hi everybody. I hope that you have checked in today and saw that we have a new module open now. We're going into the research unit. Now that doesn't mean that module 1, the literary analysis, is completely done with. We're going to continue to build upon the knowledge that we have started with in the literary analysis module, such as paragraph development, and building to support our thoughts, and citing our sources, quoting, etc. So we're going to build upon that now with the research module. Now, I did check last night the Safe Assign reports on plagiarism, so make sure you check your My Grades link to see if you have a note there, okay? You may also have noticed, if you went into course content today, that we do have a new pop-up at the bottom of the screen, and that's the one late paper only. Now, in your syllabus, you may remember that there is a one-time, 1 week get out of jail free card, so to speak, all right? So if you had a problem with that first essay, if it was unacceptable the way that it was turned in, or if you had a family emergency come up and you need to buy a little bit of time, you get that one time that you can submit an essay a week late. So you can read more about that on the syllabus. And so as you guys know, once our due dates pass, those assignment links go away. Right? And so this is a way for me to keep track of when something is resubmitted. All right. So this is going to stay open through the next couple of essays so that if it's incredibly important, because as I said, you don't want to use this unless it's an emergency, you can submit your one paper late. Okay. Now that's up to 1 week and that's it. And you do have to turn it into this link and save it as the assignment name and your name, like I have shown you on the literary analysis paper and other things too. So if it's the literary analysis paper that you have to turn in late, that you're going to put lit and your last name, your first initial. Okay. If it's the research paper, etc., we're going to have to submit it here if it's late. And this is a way I can keep track if someone is just doing that one time. And also it's a way that you can have maybe some bonus points added to your grade at the end of the semester if you don't ever have to use this feature. Okay, it'll be easy for me to identify that. So if you go into our module 2, we have a task list right at the top along with our objectives, and you will notice that I have opened both of these weeks together, and I did that for a couple of different reasons. One is because this is just a 2-week module, and I want you guys to get as much of the information that you need on research and research skills if you're a little bit rusty together as you're starting to build your ideas, if you haven't done research in a while, for example, and also because this unit overlaps Independence Day, and I know that sometimes people travel for that. If you're going to be at the lake, if you are going to be traveling in a car for Independence Day, that kind of thing, then you have the option, of course, of turning that paper in a little bit early. So week 2 of this module is a little bit light on assignments right now because I want you to focus on really building a good, strong essay. Now, you can't do that unless you look at the feedback that you get on your essay 1. So I'll be grading those over the next couple of days, and it's one of the best ways that I have of tutoring you individually is by making notes on your paper. And I'm going to try to make a lot of productive notes on your literary analysis paper so that you have some things to build on for this research paper that you're going to be turning in. Okay, so there are some tasks listed here for you. And one thing that I wanted to make sure that I covered was this assignment sheet for research. Some people get a little bit confused on the process. Understand that the best research stems from a question we have or a problem we want to solve. So we're going to start using our little Norton Reader now. this book. Okay, and beginning of this, like you can read all of the requirements up here, of course. The beginning of this says to go to the index of themes in the back of the book. Now, keep in mind that themes here just means subject areas, of course. But if you are, for example, interested in economy, there is a section on 513 on class. Okay, like socioeconomic class, that kind of thing. All right. Or if you are an education major, there's a section on education. So flip through those subject areas and see which area appeals to you the most. Does race and ethnicity call to you right now because of what's currently in the media, or does media itself call to you? Those are different subject headings that you can peruse. Link it to something that is in your personal interest area, or maybe a career area. That way this will be more meaningful to you. And then you want to peruse the essays in that section. Maybe ask yourself what social problem, political aspect, or cultural phenomenon the work brings to light. And in doing that, you know, you're really kind of going to be looking at these essays with that sociocultural kind of approach. The difference is this isn't necessary analysis of fiction. This is going to be an argumentative paper on a social aspect or political aspect, okay? But as I said earlier, the type of writing that you do in Comp 2 actually is a combination of different modes. So you're going to analyze the essay that you choose, and then you are going to think about what kind of social issue exists in this that I want to bring to light. You're going to focus on the problem that you want to know. Think about forming it into a question. That's the next suggestion here. Focus that into a question. Well, I'm interested in education. That's what my master's is in. And so maybe I'm going to look at the Sanctuary of School on 265. And you can read a little bit about these. Don't skip the author information, for example, because it'll give you some tips about what the essay is about. And if this is my choice, as I start reading through this essay, and she is talking about her brother and herself growing up and really having to give up their bedroom because they have visitors to their house, and they slept on the couch a lot, and they use the television as kind of their sound off at night, if you will. And then she would wake up in the morning and she would be so anxious about getting to school, and that school became her sanctuary. So a couple of things really spring to me from this as I'm thinking about the social issues that exist here. It's making me think about, because of the situation she describes, it makes me think that maybe her family lived in poverty. And so I start wondering about what kind of effect poverty has on education. And so that might be the question that I form, is what effect does poverty have on education? And then maybe I do a little bit of preliminary research. That's on number 3. I look at some encyclopedias. I look at just a couple of things that I just read for information in order to kind of get some keywords in my mind that I could search with to find the best quality sources. And I'm not taking notes yet, okay? Because encyclopedias are not good quality academic sources. So do not use Wikipedia. Do not use Encyclopedia Britannica as a source in your paper, but they are good springboards into research, okay? And once I start kind of looking at the information that I have and formulating some ideas in my mind, I'm going to come up with a tentative thesis statement. And what that means is that it could possibly change over time. Now, it's going to be the same topic that I choose, okay? But it might morph a little bit. The wording might change because as I find out more information, I might need to change that a little bit. So I might come up with a statement that's tentative that says something like, poverty in America has a negative effect on one's education. So if that's my thesis, that gives me a jumping ground into my research, but it's narrowed my focus. So I'm not going to start looking at a bunch of sources that don't have anything to do with what I'm wanting to find if I formulate a tentative thesis. And then I'm going to find 6 sources. I'm going to cite those correctly. I'm going to make sure I have well-developed paragraphs. I'm going to include appeals because I'm going to be writing persuasively. And I am going to then turn in my research question and tentative thesis statement by Friday. Now that's after I brush up on some research skills and take the quiz by Wednesday, okay? So this couple of regular due dates this week, Wednesday and Friday, I just have 2 different things going on because I want you to get into the research process, but I know it's going to take you some time to read through the Norton essays in the section that you want and think about what you're wanting to research and do, and really choose your research question carefully and your thesis carefully because it's something that you're going to want to stick with over the next couple of weeks to do your research. So I want you to do that very carefully. Then you've got some other notes that might help you on knowing what the fallacies are, knowing what the emotional and logical appeals that the assignment sheet talks about really are, and then how to cite them correctly. And then you have another quiz due by Sunday night. And during this time, also, you're going to be practicing note taking. So the task list says that you are to read chapter 5 in the McMahon book. So we're not done with that. Don't get rid of that yet. And it goes over some different note-taking methods, and so there are some examples in the book. And so you are going to turn in this note-taking practice assignment to me so that I can make sure you're on the right track with note-taking. Because the worst method for research papers is copy-pasting from a site on the internet. You're going to get mixed up. You're going to cite something incorrectly or forget to cite at all. You're going to maybe plagiarize or at least make yourself look like you're plagiarizing and suspicious if you don't cite appropriately. And I do look at your sources. When you turn your research paper in, it takes me longer to grade those because I'm reading your paper and the sources that you are using. So it takes a little bit longer, but I'm making sure that you're doing it correctly that way, okay? And we don't want to have any plagiarism issues on this. And so for your ease, as you're looking for sources, there is the library database passwords here. So if you go to cowley.edu and then you go into, they've changed our menu here. So if you go into academics at the top, and then you will scroll down to library services and go into the e-portal. There's a list of databases that are very good for you here, and you'll use the passwords that I've provided in order to get into those so that you can find good variety of information. So if you want to spring forward, you can go ahead and look at next week's work list. You will have a midterm that will be due by Wednesday. So again, we're not leaving the literary analysis folder completely behind. One other quick thing I wanted to point out was that in Course Tools, you can go into Student Resources, Learning Guides for Success, and a Research Guides folder for more information if you're rusty on research. Good luck and have a good week.